A total worth it game of waiting. It's time to make some sourdough. Step 1, make the levain. Not even sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's like the starter before the starter. Some bowl and some flour. We have our mega starter. Look how happy this looks. Whoa. A very happy starter. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feed it, and then I'll put it into this mixture here. We're gonna do about a tablespoon, probably a little bit more. I like it a little bit tangy. And then we'll do a half cup of the white flour, and then about a third cup of water. A little bit. Once this starter gets going, it's like bubble, bubble, bubble. It's like ready to go. It's just actively feeding, creating CO2, making bubbles. We'll get into the sourdough starter a little bit more, but let's get going. Just grab a tablespoon. I just pretty much eyeball everything. Do a 1-in-1 flour to water. Remember, rookie, I don't have a whole lot of experience. I just kind of have done it a couple of times and sharing what I know. All right, got my water in there to my starter. So let's make our levain mixture. A nice generous bit of sourdough. Like I said, I like a little bit extra just to give a little zip. Third of a cup of flour, and a half cup of water.
And there it is. Let's give it a little mix.
Nothing fancy. Just get it all incorporated.
And that's it. That's literally it. I don't worry too much about the sides and everything, because what's going to happen tomorrow, this will like bubble up and everything and be good to go. What's going to happen next will be about 2 cups of water will go in here tomorrow, and then the flour for the actual recipe will go into that. So all this little stuff here, I'm not too worried about it. You're just really creating a place for your very active starter to be here with some fresh flour. Basically, it's like another version of a starter. I would imagine that this set here, you can increase or decrease as necessary. But the goal here with this particular recipe is about 2 pretty generous sized loaves is kind of what this is for.
I'm gonna cover this up, and that's just gonna be what it's gonna be. It is now 11:11 at night, and we'll get cracking on this tomorrow morning. Morning, everybody. So it has been overnight, and this is the levain, whatever you want to pronounce it, the next day. So it's nice and bubbly, and it's just a big old bunch of flour, water, and starter. Next step I'm going to add is 2 cups of water into this mixture here.
All right. So here we have our water and our levain. So I'm just going to kind of come in here and break it out with my fingers. All right, that's pretty much done. Pretty much all the chunks are broken up. I'm gonna add the 5.5 cups of flour now.
Here's our bowl with our water and our flour. I'm just gonna mix it up by hand. It's gonna be super shaggy at first. We're gonna do that until it's, pretty much well incorporated there, and then let it be for about 2 hours.
There it is after mixing it up roughly by hand.
All right, so here's my dough. I am gonna just let this sit for about 2 hours. This is kind of when the clock begins. It's 7:39 right now. So let's see, 8, 9, 39. We can start our stretching and folding and just kind of incorporating this. It's gonna be a few hours throughout the day here, but once it's over with, we can just let it, rise and hang out. And we can deal with this later on tonight for the next big activity. Cool. A total worth it game of waiting. Oh, and as far as temperature goes, I just kind of let this hang out on the counter. All right, and here is our beautiful flour 2 hours later. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. So next up, we're gonna do half a cup of water, mix with a tablespoon of salt, get it all mixed together, and then throw it in here and start our initial assemblage of the dough. All right, so it's about noon. I've been pulling this every 30 minutes since about 9 o'clock. So you see 6 pulls. This is gonna be my final pull. Then I'm just gonna let this sit undisturbed for a couple of hours until tonight. Just give it a good stretch. And as I'm doing this, I think that I could do a better job as far as like stretching, but this is the way that I've been doing it for ever since I started sourdough. So I am just giving you kind of the baseline of what I'm doing. And of course, being the sourdough rookie, I have a ton to learn. But the joy of sourdough is the process, it is the journey, not so much the destination. And whatever is gonna end up on the other side should be edible, yeah. So just trying to stretch it, get some good air in there, let it rise. And then tonight, we'll divide it up into 2 different loaves. Probably tonight, cook it up. So there you go. There's our dough. Just let it rest for several hours. All right, everybody, it is 6:21 at night. This has been resting since noontime. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, that is amazing. This is our dough since resting, stretching and pulling, homemade sourdough. Go ahead and throw this onto a flour-coated surface, divide it in 2, let it rest some more. We'll bake it tonight, and then we'll have fresh sourdough. All right, let's go ahead and pour this onto our surface. A little bit of water that has collected here at the bottom.
Lots of moisture. So moist.
Give it a slice right down the center. Divide this into 2. Now it is sliced. And then what I'm gonna do now is just kind of gently, ooh, nice and stretchy. This way, towards the middle. Just a initial folding to start assembling it. Kind of tuck it in on itself. Give it a little twist here. So this one's gonna be rounded. Eventually this one here will turn into a log shape, a loaf shape. You'll see the pan that I'm dealing with here in a second. I try not to use the tips of my fingers. It's more the pads of the fingers. Again, just kind of initially shaping things here. And then there's gonna be a bench rest for, oh gosh, you can do 30 minutes to, I've done it several hours before. So it will, again, double in size. It's pretty impressive how quickly it rises here. So we'll just let this rest covered and then get to baking soon. All right, so we're gonna do our final shaping of our bread here. We do a round cast iron cooking setup for this loaf here and then a long loaf for this guy here. I actually have a clay loaf pan that I'm gonna let this proof in, but first we're gonna do our final shaping. All right, just give it a little pinch and a pull here. 1, 2, for a total of 4. Just kind of give it a little spin here. Let it kind of hang out here. And for this one, I actually have a pan ready to go. And right here in the shape that I wanted to proof in. Give it a stretch. Right. Little tear there. And just let it rise. Well, it's officially time to bake. The first one I'm gonna do is this loaf right here. I'm gonna actually take the bread out and then warm up the clay cooking vessel, like from a 0 degree all the way up to 500 degrees. I don't want this to be introduced to a very hot oven right away. So I'm gonna warm it up like that. I have kept the bread in here to allow it to take the shape of this. Now it's time to take it out. And then once it's hot, then we'll start the cooking process. I'm gonna go 500 degrees with this one. Whoa. Don't forget the lid on the bottom. Now we just wait for it to warm up. In preparation for the bread to go in, I'm actually gonna score it. Usually I just take a regular knife and just make like a quick little hash mark, but I'm gonna try to do a little bit of the fancy scoring. So I have this X-Acto knife. I know that it's not like a proper scoring knife, but this is what I have. It's super sharp, and I'm gonna give it a go on this loaf right here. I'll see if that works. I have no idea how it's gonna turn out. All right, here we go. Let's pop it in the oven. Working with sourdough and things are super duper hot. Time is temperature, and you can only have your hands on things for so long without them burning. I don't have like super duper fancy high temperature gloves. All I have is these oven mitts. I found if I work fast, then I don't get burned quite as much. My goal is to open the oven, get the loaf into the clay and get the lid on, get out of there as quickly as possible. A little bit of a time crunch, and then we're gonna pop it in for 20 minutes and just like seal it in, let it steam itself, and then after 20 minutes, take the lid off, and then we'll see if there's any magic inside. All right, it's go time. This is always the most exciting part, in my opinion. Some people say whenever you first take off the lid after the 20 minutes, but for me, it's like this kind of exhilarating rush. You've gone like all day long, kind of slowly, and now it's like go time. Here we go. Oh, and this is also whenever all your hard work can mess up quickly. Okay, and that was it. Well, I've done it a few times, but it might actually help just to like rehearse all the steps in your head beforehand. That way you're not having the oven open and then deciding what to do, so you're not losing all of your temperature all at once. So let's pop this in for 20 minutes. And now we wait. All right, the timer's done. Let's check and see what it looks like inside. Okay, here we go. Don't want to lose too much temperature here. All right, 1, 2, and 3. Oh, that's not enough. Ooh, pretty. All right, we'll admire it later. Back in there, you. We're gonna drop this down to 450. All right, for 20 more minutes. So I found doing the 20 minutes initial, then take the lid off, and then do 10 minutes gets you a nice crumb, a nice crunch, but not overly overwhelming. My wife and family don't like that burnt taste. Me personally, I really like the flavor of that. This is gonna be our loaf here, so I'm gonna keep it a little bit easier. And then, we usually are gonna slice this up to do whatever with, and you can always just toast it. I know, for me, I would like to go a little bit further, but happy family, happy sourdough person. Anyways, when this is done, we'll see what it looks like. Put it out together. 3, 2, 1. What's inside? Whoa. Holy sourdough, Batman. We got us some bread. All right, let's take a look at this bread together. There we are. There we are. All right, let's get out. So I'm actually remembering something here. I'm gonna go ahead and let this cool in my regular non-warmed oven here, if I can get like a crispier crust. All right, let's cool it down in there and see if anything happens with the crust. Next up is loaf number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and score this like I did the original one, with kind of a similar thing that I did in the last one, and we'll see if we have a cool turnout with the scoring with the X-Acto knife on this bread loaf here. That one was a bit of a loaf, like long ways. This one's gonna be more of a round. I don't have any clue of what I'm doing, but I'll just tell you that I'm just kind of like introducing the blade to the dough and allowing it to split versus me kind of like, barreling my way through this. This is actually going to my in-laws. And so we're gonna have to keep the design, kind of safe for work, if you know what I'm saying. So let me just make something presentable. This is actually interesting because now I'm just interested generally in like how deep to go and how much force to apply with the blade here. I know that scoring is kind of a big deal, and you can do, I've seen like a ton of like really pretty designs and stuff. And so that is something now that, I'm kind of getting a little bit more into sourdough, something to experiment with, what scoring works with like different, shapes of the actual loaf, in terms of like when it expands and how it expands and hydration levels. And, we can really kind of deep dive into many different aspects, but just the whole principle behind sourdough is attractive to me because I feel like it's forgiving in a way, but at the same time, it requires you to have patience. And I feel like, at least for me, in today's world, having patience is kind of a rarity. You might be patient, but the rest of the world expects differently. And so with sourdough, it's a two-way road and it's a win-win. So let's take a look at this scoring grid that I just did.
Oh yeah. That's gonna look interesting when it's done.
We have our oven again at 500. I have a big cast iron Dutch oven going on in here, and it's been preheating with the oven here. Again, 500 degrees for...
Nice save.
Transfer the loaf onto a piece of parchment now, drop it into the Dutch oven carefully, and then get that lid on. So let's go. Here we go with loaf number 2 coming out the oven.
Whoosh. Whoa. Action. Boom.
I thought running was an action sport. Yeah, welcome to sourdough. If this has brought you any kind of value, go ahead and boop the like button. That would really mean a lot to me. That would tell me that you find value in this content and that it can help to spread to others, other noobs like myself, the sourdough rookie. Well, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Why don't we check on loaf number 1, see how it is doing, because I really want to try a piece.
Whoa. All right.
Whoa, take a look at that. Oh, buddy. Oh, man. Let's give it a smell. Yes, smells like sourdough bread. Let's have a closer look. So I'm an amateur, I'm a rookie. I have no clue what the heck I'm doing here, but I'll just tell you what I'm noticing, and we can use this as a baseline going forward of pluses and minuses as far as sourdough go. So taking a look first of all at my little scoring work, I'm not sure if you can tell, but I wrote stay sour across the top. Oh, I'm such a dork, and because I thought that was kind of cool. And it worked out okay, like the letters stretched out, but whatever. The smell is amazing. I'm taking a look at the top here, how the bottom, the top layer is here on the top, and of course, whatever's underneath has stretched and gotten stuck in there. Now my understanding is when the stuff heats up, it gets all steamy and whatever. There's carbon dioxide that wants to come out, and then it gets trapped. We'll probably see some little holes inside of the dough once we open it up. That'll be another interesting thing. We can kind of see how the steam was escaping here. I don't know the full science behind it. If you want that stuff, you can go to the bread code. That guy knows his stuff, like pHs and all that stuff. I'm not gonna do all that. I am just more into just the holistic art of it, I guess, and guesswork and trial and error. And I'm gonna eat it either way, so whatever. Anywho, it's got a good shape. It's got a good feel. Give it a little tap test. I don't know what I'm doing there. I'm trying to check for a stud on the wall or whatever. I like that I use parchment because sometimes I get kind of that burn on the bottom if I don't. Got some nice even coloring going on here. It feels okay to cut into. I'm actually gonna let it cool down a little bit more. Basically, I don't want to lose my shape of my crust, but I have a feeling that it'll actually hold because it feels like a nice, you hear that crunch? A nice thick crust. So we'll see what happens when we cut it open here in about 10 minutes or so, all right? Loaf number 2, let's go. Oh, hello flavor. Hello flavor, yeah. So my wife is gonna say this is burnt, but I'd say that is a caramelization. Look at that deliciousness. I just realized what I did. I did not switch it down to 450 degrees for the last 10 minutes. I've done that before, and actually the loaves are fine. It's just the surface that really takes the hit of that. So, channel name, Sourdough Rookie. Might actually turn into a good thing, but that slipped my mind. So there you go. You win some, you lose some. Look at loaf number 2. The coloring really isn't that bad. I mean, it's a little bit, brown on the top here and black on the top. The coloring overall isn't that bad. In fact, it looks kind of like one of those things from Mario on your screen now. Cute. Whatever those things are. Come on. And then here's the bottom. Woo! You know, with that Dutch oven, previously without the parchment, I would have a lot more char in the bottom of this loaf here. So that's way improved. That's a lot better. Take a look at that. Cool. And listen. Yeah, the crunch. Oh, like it's like the Rice Krispies of sourdough. This thing is so cool. It smells good too. Okay, well, there's only one last thing to do. You know what time it is. Cutting time. There you go. There you go. Sourdough. I don't know about you, but me, I like the end piece or the heel of the bread. You know, no butter needed for this. I'm telling you right now. Look how, and listen to that. Oh, that's amazing. Down the hatch. Oh my, this is amazing. I'm gonna be doing that oven cooling trick from here on out, guys. I'm telling you, so good. That little bit of salt that I put in there, you can definitely taste the zip on that one. It's got a chew, but it's not over the top. It does not taste burnt. It is nice and fluffy in the middle. Like, we wanna toast this up for whatever later on, fine. You wanna do French toast? Fine. You wanna do sandwiches? Oh, okay. It's a strictly strong bread. I mean, look at the number of sandwiches you're gonna get out of that. Look, I'm telling you, sourdough, this is amazing. Thanks so much for watching. Click like if you haven't liked already. Subscribe, join the journey. Come on, sourdough rookie. Stay sour, all the good things. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful night. Look at that. Look at that bread.